the biggest thing we do that keeps us stuck is we think we need to have the perfect plan B set up before we can make any move. It's what I did.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exist. You know those cartoons that it's like it shows a straight line from A to B, and it says this is what we think success is, and then this is what success really is, and it's this big squiggly line.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Hello, my beautiful friends of the universe. Welcome back to the University of Why, where we get to explore the core motivations behind our choices, the purpose behind our pursuits, and the beliefs that shape who we are. I'm your host, Dr. Sonia Chopra, and today we have a very special guest with us talking about all things career, burnout, side hustles, and really kind of taking a leap of faith. My next guest is somebody who dreamt about being a dentist her whole life. And 10 years into being a dentist, she realized that dentistry wasn't a match for her. Dr. Laura Brenner has been such an inspiration to me. I'd like to call us same, but different. I met her through the dental industry, and I was really impressed with her that she was able to take this leap of faith. Even though dentistry was really working out for her, it just wasn't aligned with her. And she decided to leave clinical dentistry and do something different. After her blog post, 10 Reasons Your Dentist Probably Hates You Too, this was a response to somebody's blog that said 10 Reasons I Hate the Dentist, her blog actually went viral. And it began connecting her with other dental professionals around the world who wanted more from their careers. So this inspired her to create her own career coaching called Lola B's Career Coaching to help dental professionals design their careers on their terms so they can create joyful, balanced lives. I really admire Dr. Brenner for being able to take this leap of faith, creating a life for her that felt more aligned with her. And it's interesting because we both kind of started our side hustles. She completely left clinical dentistry while I kind of still keep my toe in clinical dentistry. And so I think it's a beautiful way to see that there are multiple ways to do one thing. So if you are curious about what's outside of the operatory for you, and if you are a little afraid to explore and you want a little bit of help, or maybe you're feeling a little bit of burnout and you want to know if that has deeper meaning, then this podcast is for you. So without further ado, I want to welcome Dr. Laura Brenner to the show. Hello, Dr. Laura Brenner.
Hello, Dr. Sonia Chopra.
I'm so happy that you're here with me today.
Me too. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor.
Well, thank you for being my very first guest on the podcast, The University of Why. I chose you specifically because I feel like I can be myself with you. And I feel like we are same, but different. We are very aligned with our actions and our core motivations, but we do it differently. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. You are a dentist, but you're no longer dentisting, and that's what I want to talk about. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you start in your path? What drew you to dentistry? And tell me a little bit about your journey in dentistry to begin with.
So to go really far, by the way, before I even jump in, thank you. That's so sweet. And that makes me feel so great. And I agree. That's a great way of saying it. We're same, and yet we do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And we see things really differently, even though we see so many things similarly. So anyway, thank you. That makes me even more honored.
I love it.
So I'm going to go way far back. When I was a kid, I remember going to the dental office, and the assistants did such a good job cleaning my teeth that they got me interested in dentistry, and it looked fun. And I liked people, and I thought it would be a really nice way to help people. And also, side note, build a really good life that had a lot of balance and a good lifestyle. So it just felt like the dream. In some ways it was, but underneath that dream, once I got out of dental school. So by the way, I liked dental school. Dental school was fun for me. Right. Yes, there were challenges, but I think we don't, when you're in dental school, you don't understand. And we all kept thinking it was pretty bad and that the real world was going to be so much better. And for me, the real world was worse. It came with a lot more pressure and a lot more challenges than what I understood dentistry could ever have. So I chose it. I chose it for actually a genuine interest in it, and then was sort of blindsided and became very disillusioned very quickly in my career.
So, what were the first signs that you knew that you were kind of out of alignment? And how far into being a dentist did this occur?
I kidded myself for a while, which I think is important to do, right? We're going to try to stay positive. We're going to do our best. We're going to make sure we make the most of this investment that we've made. So even from the beginning of, let's say, my first day in practice, it was hard. And I think everybody can relate to that. It's hard. You have no idea what you're doing. It's like a whole new experiment. But I had enough grit that I was going to try new things.
Right.
And I was going to go through the hard times because I knew that it was going to get better. And that was just a natural part of the process that I accepted and allowed. And that allowed me to stay positive for the first 3 years.
Hmm.
And it's crazy, Sonia. I talked to a lot of dentists in year 3. So I think there's this, let's call it the 3-year itch.
Yeah. But don't you think, like, I remember feeling like, okay, I needed 3 years of clinical dentistry to get under my belt to almost get the confidence. So I thought it was like this lack of confidence that I wasn't making me connect to dentistry. And then I was like, okay, well, after 3 years, I actually got a little bit of confidence and then I started to connect to it more. And so that kept me going. But tell us a little bit more about like what started to change in you.
100%. And the opposite thing happened for me. At 3 years in, I was like, this doesn't feel better. I should have more confidence. I mean, I did have more. Your skin gets thicker, you get better clinically, you really do. But I wasn't feeling better. And so what happened to me was I lost hope. Because I hit that 3-year mark where it should have gone the other direction. And I wasn't feeling better. And that actually made me feel worse because then I was thinking, well, if I'm at 3 years and this isn't getting better, all right, maybe I need to get to 5 years. But I don't know that it's going to get better. And that was my first time of saying, I think I don't like this and I think I want to do something different.
Were you terrified? Like, because I would be terrified. Being that like I studied my whole life to become a dentist. I think my fear is what actually kept me in dentistry. I don't know if I would have been, I'm still not brave enough to leave, right? So, like, walk me through your mindset, like at the time, like, because dentistry can be a cush life, right? And
Mhm.
leaving that kind of money is brave. And, for me, I felt like I had no other skill. So, what do you tell people who feel like they have no other skill and they're afraid to walk away?
Terrified. We're all terrified.
Yeah.
It's the best way to describe it. And I always said the same thing. I have no other skills. What else could I do? But for me, the pain, the daily pain was big enough that I just felt the need to explore it. And I did. This was in 2004. I explored it the best I could. And because of my fear, I started saying things like, well, the economy's starting to turn. I should feel lucky to have a job. I should like what I do. I should invest more in it. I just should all over myself, right?
Right.
And looking back, it was all excuses, even though I do believe it was the right thing to do. So, what would I tell others if you're having these inklings and you feel that fear? Explore it in a way that isn't going to force you to throw away everything you've already invested. And don't wait to explore what else your life could look like. Because after 3 years, when I started exploring it and then I made all these excuses, that was my fear. And that shut me down. And then I went about my business trying to like dentistry, which I do think is important. We all owe it to ourselves to try.
Yeah, exactly.
So no regrets. So glad I did that because then when I leave, then I can say I've tried everything.
Right. So you kind of straddled leaving. You stayed in and out for a little bit. How long did you do that?
Well, I explored,
Okay.
i.e., took my supply rep out to lunch and asked him if there were any sales positions at his company. And he talked me out of it. And I Googled and I did that. But that was it. It wasn't really a deep exploration. It was very quickly silenced by that meeting where he told me that I was overqualified. Because remember, in 2004, no one's talking about career change out of dentistry,
Yeah.
and it's foreign. So he meant well, and he actually found me my next clinical job. So from that point, I doubled down into dentistry and said, I need a new job that's going to be a better environment. And I'm going to go to the Pankey Institute. And I went there 4 times. So people who don't know me might think, she just quit. No, I went to the Pankey Institute 4 times.
And I feel like a lot of dentists probably do the same thing. Maybe they go to Coyce or they go to, Dawson or Pankey and they feel like, okay, if I just know more, then I'll feel better about what I do.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's all part of the process.
Yeah.
So then 7 years in, when I'd go to Pankey and then come home, and even at that point, I had gotten a job in a Pankey practice, Pankey style practice. And I had support and I had mentors. It still wasn't getting better. And at the 7 year mark was when my husband said to me, we can't do this. We were married for probably 2 or 3 years. And he said, you can't come home every day crying. You can't wake up every night at 2 a.m. with insomnia and be this miserable all the time. Do something about it.
So it was impacting you in and out of the practice, for sure.
Every second of my life, it was defining who I was. And I'm telling you, you could drop down as many days a week as you want. You could go down to 2 or 3 days. And someone listening will relate to this. When you drop down to 2 days a week, but you still spend the other 5 worrying about that day you have to go back to dentistry on your working day, it's a full-time job because it's occupying your brain all week.
Yeah.
That's when it's a problem, right?
Absolutely. That was me for a while. I remember that. I needed my brain to be occupied by something different. So that's why my side hustle became so important to me because my brain could go someplace else. So I felt like it's just me where my brain ends up needing to do something, right? And if I don't give it something else to do, then I'm going to just think about the practice and that is going to suck my energy. I wonder if other people are like that.
It's
Yeah.
kind of sounds like we both needed something to do,
Yeah.
and yours was directed more in to something constructive that you could build that was new. And I'm sure that has to do with your mindset and your upbringing and different things you were taught in your life compared to what I was taught, right?
Yeah.
And mine was to crawl into a hole and just succumb to the depression because I couldn't undo it. I didn't have the confidence to say, oh, I could teach this course or I could speak or, I kind of had, looking back, little examples of, joining the local dental society and introducing a speaker host and enjoying aspects of it, enjoying going to Pankey.
Mm-hmm.
I was lacking that confidence to say, how could I turn the parts I do enjoy into something else, into a new opportunity? And you had that.
Yeah. I wonder, yeah, I always question like if I needed to do it or I still always wonder like what pulled me. It was like a magnetic pull too that I can't even explain. It's just part of my journey. But I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you. I want to know at 7 years, then did you make a shift at year 7? Or
No.
it was still more time?
Yep. Love that question because that was when I worked with a career coach, didn't really get anywhere because I was in my way. I was in my
Mm,
own way.
mm,
I got therapy, and it wasn't until year 10
okay.
that I was basically forced out of dentistry because my boss wanted me to buy his practice.
Ah,
And I knew I couldn't say to him, "Oh yeah, let's buy another year and you can introduce me to your patients. And then in a year, when you want me to buy it, see you later. So even quitting, I didn't do for myself, I did for somebody else's benefit.
Wow. That's an interesting part of your story that I didn't know.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, so what were you burnt out or no? What happened to you specifically? And then because you do career coaching, what do you see in others?
I've learned so much doing this career coaching and reflecting it back on my experiences. And at the time, all those years, I just thought I hated dentistry. And by the way, I look back at old journals. I think I've rewritten the narrative a little bit to give myself permission to say I hated dentistry. By the way, you also I love dentistry. I just don't like practicing clinical dentistry.
That's fair.
Fair, right?
Fair,
I
totally
love
fair.
this field. I
Yeah.
still do. I did ever since I was a kid. But looking back, I my old journals were so many like trying to convince myself that
Oh,
I did like it and here are the parts I love. And so when I look back, I've rewritten it and given myself permission to.
maybe you were just finding gratitude in every day. Like you were trying to see the light in every day. Maybe, I
Well,
don't know. I didn't read your journal.
yeah, maybe a little bit. And I wish it were more that and less trying to just tolerate good enough because I felt like I had no options
Mm.
and
Okay.
feeling trapped. So yeah, so really, I it wasn't until 2019 I was preparing for a presentation I was doing for the Rocky Mountain Dental Convention, my first one ever. Excited to get on the circuit, and they asked me what I wanted to talk about, and I said, let's do burnout. 2019, burnout. This is starting to be a more popular concept. People were talking about it. As I researched it, it was like open the dictionary for burnout and you see a picture of my face, right?
Well, tell us a little bit about burnout then. How can one decipher between true burnout and maybe something else?
Yeah, three things that I really attach to besides the typical, you're unhappy, you have low energy, but the three biggies for me are one, you lose compassion for your patients. It's called compassion fatigue. So your patients begin to annoy you. Their burdens become your burdens, right? Instead of seeing them as solutions, like their problems are solutions you can help them with, you see their problems as your burdens.
Can you give an example?
Oh gosh, I mean, I could give you lots of examples. A simple one is let's do a root canal example. You do the best job on a root canal, it looks perfect. They come back and they're like, oh, my tooth hurts, and it didn't happen until you touched it,
Right. Okay.
right? And then you're just feeling defensive and you don't have any sympathy for the fact that, wow, they're in pain,
Hmm.
right? It's more like, oh, they're such a bleep.
Got it. Okay. So that's
Yeah.
one.
So they're no longer an ally, they're almost an enemy. So that's one.
Okay.
The other one is you become disillusioned by your work. So maybe it's not what you expected, you've lost faith in it, you don't believe in what you do.
I
And then,
remember that feeling.
yeah, it's burnout. And then the third one that I think is really big is feeling like you're not making an impact.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay, think about this. I've talked to so many dentists. Like, if you just stop, remove yourself from dentistry, and think about what we're doing, we have one of the most impactful,
Hmm.
helpful, life changing jobs in the world. And a lot of us can't even see that.
Yeah.
We don't even feel it or see it. And at that point, your impact isn't even real if you can't see it, right?
Mhm.
So, those were the signs of burnout that I think are the most detrimental that
Those
I
are
was
pretty deep.
feeling.
Those are pretty deep signs.
They're big, right?
They're really big.
That's why, to me, I categorize them separately from, oh, I have low energy. Oh, I'm irritable.
How do you test it though? We've had discussions before on like, how do you really test to see if burnout is kind of making its face in your life? We talked about like the vacation, like going away for vacation and kind of coming back refreshed. kind of describe that a little bit. What are some ways that we can test if it's truly burnout or if it's something else?
I love that you brought that up because that's what happened to me is I looked back on my career and I was like, oh my gosh, was I burned out all this time? And if I had just known that, maybe I could have fixed my career.
Mm-hmm.
And then now the work I do as a coach, I burn myself out all the time because I love what I do. And so I'm that achiever that drove me to dentistry is still part of me, and I burn myself out all the time. So I love to make it dental speak. And just like they say in dentistry, if you want to find the right treatment plan for your patient, you have to find the right diagnosis first,
It's my mantra. I
right?
love that. Yep.
So that's what we're doing here. We're saying, is my burnout, and just comparing my experiences, I came up with this concept of there are two types of burnout. There's burnout when you love what you do, and there's burnout when you don't love what you do.
Right.
And this is where the testing comes in. Just like if somebody comes to you with tooth sensitivity, you're going to diagnose it. And if it's still vague, you're going to start with the least invasive treatment.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And if that helps, great. You fix the problem. If it doesn't, then that's when you go to the indirect pulp cap, or that's when you go to the direct pulp cap. And that's when you go to the root canal, right? Like so this is what we're doing. So some of the tests are, you mentioned the vacation. You go on a vacation, how do you feel coming back? If you feel refreshed, if you feel ready to come back and you have the energy to pour back into your work, then I would say that's burnout when you love what you do.
Right. When you're the achiever, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like what are the treatments for burnout? The treatments are taking breaks, going on vacations, getting support in your everyday, keeping yourself engaged so that boredom doesn't turn into burnout, right? It's your everyday habits that make you feel well also. Good and well, really.
Right.
And so if we take those treatments, the vacation one being the example, if they work, great. That's like the filling you did that helped the sensitive tooth. Yeah. Keep doing it. You're good to go. Keep taking care of yourself. Keep asking for support. If you go on that vacation and you actually feel worse coming back, or if you're in that yoga class and you feel amazing in class and it's working, but the second you step out the door, that dread returns and you're back to your life and it's as if nothing happened. Or if you get the support from your team and you still feel all these same feelings, those treatments aren't working. And that means there's something bigger at play. And you're probably denying, but now's your chance to be real with yourself. Then maybe it's the career.
Yeah, wow. I never thought about this while I was going through it, but you made me realize that for me, my burnout, a lot of it was achiever, right? Like I still love clinical dentistry. However, I really can't do more than 1 to 2 days a week because it will kill me. But that allows me to do my other passions. But I found my way. Like I allowed my team to support me, and they did. And I found my way down to 2 days a week. And then that supported me and allowed me to still stay in clinical dentistry. I do think things might be changing again. That it's been like, gosh, let's see, 2016 was my burnout. And so now it's another 10-year stretch and I'm feeling it again. And now I'm wondering, I may need to just go down to 1 day a week to handle it still. Well, things are growing in the side hustle thing. So that's kind of recontributing to a burnout. But I definitely had achiever burnout and not, I don't love what I do burnout. So I love the fact that there's like two distinct buckets that people can look at. And even if like people who are not dentists might be listening to this podcast, so I think this applies to them too. Just any high achieving kind of individual, if you apply these two concepts to see which bucket are you in, I think that's beautiful. So let's take it back to when you kind of gave yourself permission to try something different.
Well, it was still terrifying,
Yeah.
but it really is a turning point. And, I mentioned my husband, and I always joke that was the ultimatum. I mean, it kind of was delivered as an ultimatum. He's like, sort it out. I don't care what we need to
Mm.
do. Sort it out. If we have to sell our house and move, fine. But our marriage is not going to last if you continue this way. That was permission,
Oh,
right? From
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need it from
Yeah.
other people. This could be a whole different topic, but the caretakers that we are as dentists, we're so good at seeing other people's sides of the story that we sometimes lose touch with what we want and what we know,
Absolutely.
right? And so then
Yeah.
we don't support ourselves. So I needed him to give me permission. And even then, it was a battle to give myself permission. But once you give yourself permission, then you get unstuck.
Yeah. I would think my husband would think I was a failure, you know? So another fear probably could be a potential.
Yeah, and it could be true, could be not. I've spoken to a lot of dentists who their partner doesn't support them being happy
Yeah.
and making change because
Hmm.
they need the income or they think they need it or they just don't always get it. So I was very lucky, and there are a lot of other dentists out there too who feel this way, they have a spouse who supports them and doesn't care and knows they'll work it out. So I was very lucky to have that, because I'm the other way. I would have been like, I was doing this to myself. You chose this, you need to suck it up. You need the money. There's no other way. You're going to survive. And that cost me a lot in other areas.
All right. So then what did you do next?
Then I explored. And I really had to, I read a lot of books, a lot of personal development books. At the time, the books were helpful, and I think they were impacting me slowly, bit by bit. So I never had one that was an aha. Like
That's
I
good.
always got to the end of the book and I was like, oh, this is so great, but now how do I do this? What do I do with it? Right?
Yeah.
But I'll give you a favorite book, because years later,
Okay.
there's a book called The Slight Edge. Have you heard of it?
No, but now I love just collecting books, so I might have to just put that in my Amazon cart.
Yeah. It's by Jeff Olson.
Okay.
And he really breaks down how change really happens.
Mm.
It's a philosophy. And looking back on successfully going from someone who was stuck and didn't have the confidence or the belief in myself to change, to becoming somebody who's a completely different person. Then reading that book years later, I was like, bingo. This is exactly how it happened. And I didn't know it was happening at the time because I didn't have the philosophy.
Mm.
So if you're stuck and you're trying to change right now and you have the philosophy, it's easier to get through the hard days.
Wow, I think that's a great book recommendation then.
Oh, and it's such an easy read. I love it.
I love
Yeah.
it. Okay,
I
great.
actually, in all of my coaching programs, we follow it. I suggest people read it. It's a
Perfect.
huge
I'm
part of
adding
my
that
book.
one to my list. We'll put
Yeah.
that one in the show notes too. You said The Slight Edge by
Jeff Olson,
Jeff Olson. Okay,
Olson.
perfect. All right, so keep me going on your path.
Reading books, getting therapy. I realized I couldn't do this alone. And not only what's the harm in asking for help, but I need to ask for help, because I spent 7 years on the wheel, just doing the same thing over and over. How much longer could I do this?
Right.
So it was actually, I sometimes forget my timeline. I think it was in year 7 I started working with the career coach.
Okay.
And she was great. And I even worked with her to try to like dentistry, and that helped a little bit, but wasn't
You're still
sustainable.
giving it a chance, right?
Always. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We're never giving up.
Yeah.
And then I got therapy. And through the combination of coaching, the good books, and therapy,
Mm.
I had one day a shift where I was like, I'm just going to play. I don't need to take this so seriously, right? Like, why am I putting so much pressure on myself? Why can't I just play? And I also realized, but underneath that was this belief that and this was somewhat natural, but through all the work I did, I shifted from thinking I have no skills, i.e., value, to saying dentistry's hard.
Hmm.
Most people in the world can't do dentistry. If I can do dentistry, I can do anything.
That's beautiful. And that's powerful.
It was single-handedly the shift I needed to then say, okay, now I can actually explore. I may not know what I want to do, but at least I'm not holding myself back from exploring, because
Mhm.
that was the real permission that it's going to be okay. I don't have to stop taking yourself so seriously. Just have fun with it and play. And if you get an idea, do it. And if you don't, you know, then you move on.
Yeah, you're the whole mantra of like permission to play. Like we forget. We forget to play. It's probably the number one rule of life. And we get so serious and it's so hard to break free from that. And I feel like that's so true about dentistry. We forget to play
Mhm.
because it's such an energetic field and like people hate us, right? And we just forget to play. Okay, so keep going. I love this mindset shift that you had, and you realize you're more powerful than you thought. And then what?
So this is why I encourage mindset work,
Mm, yeah.
because you can't, if you're the one in your way, you're never going to take that first step. So after that, I just kind of explored and I started, I mean, I did kooky weird things. I mean, it was right when the gluten-free industry was emerging, and my husband loved beer and he was kind of having fun brewing beer. And so it was like, oh, maybe we could make a gluten-free beer.
How'd that turn out?
Not great at all.
That was a new fun fact I never knew about you.
I
Okay.
know, isn't it? And then I had a friend, well, an acquaintance, let's say, who was trying to start a gluten-free cookie line.
Hmm.
And she was a chiropractor who felt similarly in her field. And I was like, wow, we have a lot in common. Maybe I could help her. Maybe we could team up, which I think is a great thing for people who are scared. Find a buddy
Yeah.
to do this with if you can. And so I kind of went down that path a little bit with her, and that was a flop, for lots of reasons. But one, I realized I'm a dentist who also cares about nutrition and health. Sugar, creating a product that's sugar, doesn't align with my values,
I like that. So now
right?
you're coming back into alignment, kind of making the mindset shift, but then realizing what your values are. Okay, keep going.
Apply After the mindset shift, you explore who you are and
Mm.
what you want in the tangibles. And then you get your answers. And then you narrow down your search. And that's what I was doing. And then when I would do CE, I stopped taking the clinical CE and I started taking the personal development CE. And I would take the nutritional courses at our conference. And I just focused on that. And this is funny, Sonia. I don't think you know this, but one day my husband was reading in the paper. I mean, I was just floundering, or I felt like I was floundering, but I was putting effort in and getting answers, even though it felt like I was getting nowhere.
Yeah, you're still exploring, right?
Yeah, one day my husband was reading the paper and he said, oh, look at this. Here's this contest. It was this column in our newspaper that was talking about this travel contest for this new travel website where you submit a 1-minute video. And if you win, you get to be their travel show host for 6 months. And at the end, you win a house. And he was like, you should apply for this. And I was like, no. And at the time, I was like, I can't be on camera. I don't know how to speak. I'm not creative enough. All the reasons why I couldn't do it. But then I was like, let me just go look. And I looked, and there were all these people entering this contest, sitting in front of their laptop with a dark screen because their lighting was off, begging to be chosen for this contest. And I was like, okay, these are horrible. if they're doing this, I can submit something.
There you go.
Okay, this is the second turning point for me. This is
Mm,
the playing,
I love it.
right?
I love
And
that.
and so I created a skit about being a dentist and making fun of dentistry, and it was really fun. It was like clever and creative, and I'll skip all the details, but I ended up making this fun 1 minute video, and I had so much fun discovering a creativity that I forgot that I had. Because so many of us, dentists say this all the time, I'm not creative, and that's a lie.
Mm, that is a big lie.
It's a lie. You just need to see it. So that's my second thing, play and reconnect with your creative thinking. And so this was playing, and it was like, it doesn't matter what happens. I had to get votes every day. I had to ask people for votes. You know how annoying that is?
I know. I hate to ask.
So annoying.
Did you
But
end
I
up
did it.
winning? Did you win?
No.
That would have been great.
I didn't win because there were a few people who were like professional show hosts,
Oh, okay.
right? And then when I didn't win, even though I knew I wasn't going to, I hit a low. I was so depressed because this thing I was wanting to rescue me didn't rescue me,
Oh,
right? And this is where we want people to give us the answers. We want something to rescue us, and really we can rescue ourselves is what I learned, right? We have to rescue
we
ourselves.
have to. I mean, there's, happiness is within, right? Like we have to find it inside.
There's no other way,
Yeah.
right? Because if someone else rescues us, we're still, there's the wherever you go, there you are,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was when I picked myself up and said, all right, I'm going to turn these lemons into lemonade, and I'm going to start a travel blog.
That's my dream, by the way. I've always wanted to be a travel blogger.
Me too. It's so fun.
I know one day it'll happen. One day.
Well, one day for sure. And so I started blogging about food and travel, two things that interested me.
Okay.
And I was traveling enough that I had enough content. And then here's the third thing that shifted. Because I was blogging, playing, no pressure, right?
Right.
Tapping into my creativity that I didn't know I had, it was forcing me to pay attention to what was going on around me all the time. And I turned my daily experiences into learning moments.
Mm-hmm.
And I was exploring myself even more and creating a voice.
You were tuning into yourself, right? Now, I have a
Yeah.
question. Are you done with clinical dentistry at this point?
Nope.
Oh, so
Stuck.
you're still practicing.
Still stuck in it. Yep.
How many days were you doing that?
I think I was 3 days a week at that point.
Okay, because I found that the more that I practiced and didn't allow myself time to actually have those moments of connection with myself, I couldn't feel. And that numbness that kind of comes with this burnout in life just continued, and I couldn't feel. So I want people to like give themselves permission to play, which you did. And then that permission to play, like kind of almost give yourself like scheduled time to connect with yourself and actually feel all the feels. This is what I'm just getting from your conversation and kind of relating it back to like my own journey, because I think that is so important, because otherwise, like when I talk to people, people don't really know, especially dentists, they don't really know what they want because they haven't scheduled the time to think about it. And they're just kind of working and they're just on that hamster wheel. But I love this. You gave yourself permission to play. You kind of connected with your creative side and you explored a bit. You had fun with it.
Yep. Absolutely. And and to your point, I still am working on paying attention to how I feel.
Sure, it's a journey,
Because
right?
I
Never
block
ends.
we block it out, right? I'd say the level before that at this time in my life was starting to pay attention to what I thought.
Yeah.
We block what we think, especially like I said earlier, as caretakers. We're so busy looking at what are other people thinking and feeling. We don't know how to look at what am I thinking and feeling. And so this allowed me to really dive in And then I started seeing opportunities everywhere. I actually entered three or four other contests where I had to make videos and just had fun with them. And then, long story short, this weight loss coaching opportunity fell into my lap.
Mhm.
And it was kind of like opening a franchise. I'd say was the most relatable structure that it was.
Okay.
And I was able to start a side gig.
Love
So
it.
I still did dentistry and I was able to set it up. My husband's a chiropractor. I was able to set it up in his office. But before the playing, before the creativity, before the mindset shifts, I would not have been able to see that opportunity or have maybe the confidence to even allow myself to then play with that. So that was a next experience of it wasn't a huge investment. Just get trained, let's dive in. And so everything just built upon itself. And this is why I love the side gig because we aren't going to give away, we're not going to throw away everything we've invested in dentistry. This is what you've done to be successful at building something new. It gives you that security. And you said it. It also engages you in a way that
Mhm.
you have more fun. And the stresses of dentistry, you just have more perspective. It's not your whole world.
Yeah, having a side hustle for me reinvigorated like my spirit. I felt alive again. I all of a sudden I had purpose again, and it was fun. Like it was also fun learning to be a dentist, right? I enjoyed that part of building and growing. And then you get to this place, you're just like, okay, well, I did it. And I think part of me is that growth part of my journey. And I probably, that's probably the truth for many people. And so for me, having the side hustle like just reinvigorated my spirit. So
That's what it does.
I love it. I love it. So, like, I feel, again, so many of us find our why outside of our original path. Like, we thought that this was the destination, but then we kind of look and see, oh my gosh, there's this other thing I want to do, and that's your side hustle that shows you something that you weren't expecting, right? And so both of us took the leap of faith. I haven't completely left dentistry, but you did to really pursue that side hustle. How, I mean, obviously you connected with yourself and you knew that leaving was the right move. And I know you help others. And so, why do you think side hustles can be a lifeline for professionals who feel stuck? Can you just keep going down that thought for us?
Absolutely. And the biggest thing we do that keeps us stuck is we think we need to have the perfect plan B
Hmm.
set up before we can make any move. It's what I did.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exist. You know those cartoons that it's like it shows a straight line from A to B
Mhm.
and it says this is what we think success is and then this is what success really is and it's this big squiggly line.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And so if you're saying I'm going to leave after I figure out what else I'm going to do, you're never going to leave because you're not going to figure out what you want to do. You can't figure it out without action
Yeah.
and trying. And if you're set on the plan, then you're just running around in that circle and you're never breaking the cycle or doing anything. So a side gig, when done properly, is with the spirit of no strings attached. How can I do this with the smallest investment I can make?
Mm.
Because you don't want to spend another several $100,000 on a degree if you don't know if you want something yet, right? And then if you aren't sure about it, the smaller the investment,
Yep.
the less that is at risk.
I love it. But you need action steps,
You,
right? Like,
you need them.
yeah. Small
And
action steps, low investment. I love these little tidbits
yeah,
because I bet you there's just so many other dentists or high performing individuals. I know you like to train dentists and only
I do.
dentists, even though I think you're super powerful and should train other people. But you train people, you are a career coach. Do you have somebody like maybe like a case study in your brain of an example, just a small example that can share with us like how you've helped somebody? And then I want to talk to you about like how people can kind of reach out to you if they're looking to find connection again with themselves in their career. So give us a little testimonial of somebody that you've worked with that has
Well, I
done.
love Jenna's story because Jenna she's my textbook case
Ah,
study.
great.
And she came to me pretty disillusioned about dentistry, feeling unhappy, feeling like it wasn't right, no idea how to start, no idea where to turn. She just knew she wanted to change. And she found me. I had just launched my new program called Start Your Side Gig. And she joined, and we first worked on her mindset so that she could recognize those beliefs. Like, we live life according to rules that were handed down to us by society, from our parents, from school. And if you really stop and look at some of the rules we live our lives by, they're total nonsense.
Yeah.
And we don't even believe them, yet we're following our lives according to them, right?
Yeah.
So it's helping identify what are the rules that you're following that are not allowing you to even give yourself permission to change. And let's rewrite new rules for your life. So we did that. And then once that's the mindset piece.
Yeah.
And then we started exploring, what do you like? Well, turns out she is a very talented artist
Oh.
and she loves painting. And she kind of gave it up during her dentistry years because that's what we're taught to do. Just focus on our career. It'll give us all the happiness in the world. It's worth it, all that stuff. So she started re-exploring her painting. But talk about an old rule. Here's the old rule that stops most of us. You can't make money doing art. I believe it. You believe it, right?
Yeah. My parents would never allow me to be an artist. I had to be a dentist because it makes money, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same here. And that's what her parents told her. So after we'd worked on her mindset, when she started realizing how much she loved painting, that belief came up again. And I said to her, well, someone makes money doing art. Why can't it be you?
That's beautiful.
And what's brilliant about her story, she just got out of her own way and she said, you know what? You're right. Okay, great. Now the next step is now we have a clue of what you like.
Yep.
All right, what are all the different ways people make money doing art? Not how you can make money doing art, but all the ways other people are. Because you take yourself out of the equation, right? Because we're harder on ourselves and we don't believe we could do it. But if someone else is doing it, then we can brainstorm.
Right.
So turns out the painting, those painting and sipping places where you go and drink wine and paint, that was one of the brainstorm items.
Okay.
And she said, I think I'm curious about that. Great. So then we take the idea and we break it down into really small, doable steps. Because if she just starts thinking about having that store where people are coming every day, she's going to say, I can't do that. And she's going to stop before she even starts.
Right.
Right? And this is the mistake everybody makes. So we break it down. First week, all you have to do is Google it. What is involved in this business? Come back. Is it still a green light? No pressure. Is it still a green light? Great.
Yeah, no pressure because there's no investment yet, right?
Exactly.
You're just writing some stuff down.
Exactly.
Yep.
If it's a red light, okay, what are we going to look at next? Fine. So it was kind of a yellow light because when she researched, it was like, this is going to cost a lot of money to rent a space, to renovate it. And then one of my thoughts was, do you really want to be on the hook for rent and then having to get people to come in every day to pay you for these workshops?
Yeah.
Why don't we kind of play with a different model? And actually, I'm getting ahead of myself because what happened before that was, well, okay, it's still interesting to you, but you don't want to jump in if you don't even know what it's like. Why don't you host these workshops? Why don't you actually, I was modeling it off of what they do with multi-level marketing where they have house parties when they have a product they're trying to sell. And I was like, these clearly work because there's an entire multi-trillion-dollar industry that uses it for their sales. Why don't you have a party at your house where you invite 10 of your friends and you teach them how to paint and you drink wine.
So much fun.
Would you, yeah, would you be willing to do that? And she said yes. But she didn't have a space. So it was like, okay, next week, all you need to do is find a venue that's either free or cheap.
Yeah.
If you're a dentist, you can go talk to a bar manager, right? That's all we're doing. We're breaking down. So she ended up finding a venue. As long as they bought drinks, they could do it for free. Great. Next week, text 10 of your friends, see if they'll join you. That's it.
These are
You work.
such like actionable steps that if you really just take the time to look at it with a reasonable mind, you're like, okay, that's not a big deal. It's not a heavy lift. And then you're just testing minimal investment and then maybe paying attention to the feeling every time you do the step. Like, is this something that I still am aligned with? And this is very easy, no matter what your side gig ends up being. This is amazing. I love these little steps.
Yeah, because I know that's the stuff that gets me stuck, right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
even the next week when it's like, okay, you're going to text 10 of your friends. Do you even know what you'll say? Let's help you figure out what you'll say. Those little things matter. So every week we just did that. She
Hmm.
hosted her first workshop with her friends at a pub. She lives in Wales. And it was so much fun. Okay, it's still a green light. It didn't cost her much
Hmm.
time, energy, or money wise. Let's keep going. That was when we brought in oh, I don't think you want to be on the hook for having to pay rent.
Right.
Why don't we model this? And we created this. Doesn't exist in dentistry. Why don't you tap into your community and offer team building workshops, like fun events for dental teams? Right? So then she's already done a workshop. Ask your office if you can do it for your team. That's what they did. And it's like, you just need to get one paid gig
Yeah.
after you've done it a couple times to get the experience under your belt. You've done it for free. Now just get one person to pay you. Fast forward, she's now gone from 4 days a week to 3 to now 2,
That's amazing.
right? She can stay there if she wants, or she can drop it all together.
And the
And
side hustle is growing. It has its own legs now.
people are reaching out to her for workshops all the time. She's getting new ideas. She's now doing hen do's, so like bachelorette parties and baby showers, where
Oh, that's
she
amazing.
she just for one of the offices, instead of having everybody paint the same thing,
Yeah.
she gave them each a square on a big painting that was the logo of the dental practice.
Oh, that's so
Isn't
cool.
that so cool?
I love this. So what's coming to me right now is that like you don't have to have it all figured out. Like the universe will totally, once you start and you just start following the breadcrumbs, the universe will kind of guide you and give you the answers. And like things will just start showing up in your path and it'll get figured out if you just continue to align with like your soul and your spirit. You'll just find your way naturally. And I love that.
Yep. You just have to say yes. Because when I see it not work, it's because people aren't saying yes. And yes, it's scary to host your first workshop, but
Yeah.
they're your friends.
Yes, I
And
love
how
that.
much do you want this? You can do this little scary thing if you want it enough.
I love it. You're such a beautiful guide. And you can
Oh,
like you can show you're like a clarity giver. You can see somebody who can't see it themselves, help them see that, give them the clarity, make it simple, give them I love how you only gave her like weekly steps. So she
oh
was
yeah.
still dentisting. She was still doing the hard, the hard job. And then you helped guide her with easy steps. And it's just about getting started. And like you said, saying yes. That is so
Yeah.
beautiful. I love it.
Thank you. And you have to just make it small enough because
Yes.
we are working 4 days a week, 5 days
Yeah.
a week. You can't put too much on your side gig plate or you won't do it.
Yeah. But you just have to get started.
Yeah.
And then you just have to see things will just show up because they're supposed to show up. I love that, Dr. Laura Brenner. See,
Ah,
I love that you found your way. And I love that now you are helping others find their way. So I'm sure somebody who is listening to this is going to want to reach out to you. Can you tell us where people can find you?
Yes, I can. You can find me on my website is lolabeescareercoaching.com. I have a private Facebook group called Dentist Side Gigs for all dental professionals who are looking for side gigs, career change, extra, income ideas, stuff like that. Uh, on Instagram, it's Dr. Lolabees, so Dr. Lolabees.
Awesome. Anywhere else?
I mean, I guess you could just do a Google search for 10 reasons your dentist probably hates you too, and it'll bring up my blog. That was my blog post
And
many years
everyone
ago.
needs to read that blog, especially if you're a dentist. And you know what? I didn't read the other version that you kind of responded to until recently, and I just read it and I was like, man, she really triggered me a little bit. And I was like, man, like you really don't get what we do. But
Right.
I I thought your response was so beautiful. And I love the way you ended your blog that, hey, you kind of still connected with the patient who brings joy and light into our days. And those are the people that we keep doing what we do for. And I just want to remember those
Oh,
patients too. Those people are
absolutely.
like,
And that's what all of us say is that we just want you to appreciate and love us because we want to appreciate and love and help you.
yeah. And help
And
us help you, right? You say
help
that
us
all the
help
time.
you.
Help us help you.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do. We are loving dentists. We are loving people. We want to love you back. We get that sometimes you're nervous and scared, and sometimes that comes out the wrong way, but know that we still love you back. But your blog post was beautiful. I think what you do is beautiful. I know you have a course. I want you to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll close up and I'll be sad because you're going on a beautiful vacay and you're going to go have fun. So tell us a little bit about your course.
It'll just give you inspiration for your next one.
Yeah.
So, my course is called Start Your Side Gig, and it is to walk people who are looking for change through that whole process
Yeah.
that I just gave you the example with Jenna so that you can get unstuck and start changing. And we focus on the mindset and who you really are. And it makes a difference because this process is not easy. If it were easy, we'd all be in different careers when we feel like it.
Yes.
And yeah,
So if you're feeling disconnected with your path, remember the side hustle can be big, it can be small, whatever it is. And if you're looking for some guidance and you need some help with some clarity, then Dr. Laura Brenner is your girl. And thank you so, so much for being here with me for my very first guest episode. I am so grateful to you, my friend. And I can't wait to see you at the next conference.
I can't wait either. Thank you so much for having me. You are a natural.
Thank you, my love. I can't wait. I can't wait to look back at this episode and be like, I really grew. And I'm so proud that I took the first step. And for this, the first step was buying lights and a microphone and all the things. And that was really what was holding me back was the tech. But I got somebody to help me. And my mic is still green, so therefore it's still recording. And the first episode that we recorded actually didn't record. I was just like, wah, 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 wah. And so, hey, you can only grow. So don't be afraid of failure, folks. You heard it here first. And thank you so much. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.